Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time. This explainer uses the Truman Show as a case study to explore how manufactured realities are stabilized through comfort, routine, and perceived safety.
So, let's start right here. This single line from the film's creator, Christoph, is pretty much our entry point. It really makes you ask a pretty big question, right? How can a system of complete control actually get people to consent without ever having to use force? Well, The Truman Show gives us a fascinating way to explore exactly that.
Okay, so first, we've got to look at how the system in Sea Haven actually works, when it's at its best, when everything just feels totally 100% normal.
And this, right here, is the core idea. See, Truman's prison isn't made of bars and guards. It's a completely managed environment. Control isn't some outside thing happening to him. It's woven into the very fabric of his everyday life, and that's what makes it completely invisible.
Just think about his world for a second. It's built on this relentless consistency. Every single morning, it's the same greeting, the same traffic jam, the same friendly neighbors. Now, this repetition isn't just, boring. It's the system's main tool. Because what feels real is what feels stable, predictable, and, safe.
So, if normalcy is the whole foundation, how is it actually built? Let's start to pull apart the invisible pillars that are holding Truman's world together.
The system basically runs on three key things. First, all that predictability, it builds this deep, almost unconscious trust in his surroundings. Second, a very carefully manufactured fear is used to draw the world's boundaries, but internally, inside Truman's own head. And third, his closest relationships, his most intimate bonds, are designed to be an emotional firewall against any doubt that starts to creep in.
This is a perfect example of that second point. The system doesn't need a giant wall to keep Truman on the island. It just needs him to be absolutely terrified of the water. By staging his father's drowning when he was just a kid, they installed this permanent internal barrier. It's control that's been completely internalized, not forced on him from the outside.
And here's that third mechanism in action. Just when Truman's suspicion is at its peak, what happens? The system sends in his best friend Marlin to say this exact line. It's genius in a way. It uses the very people Truman trusts the most to shut down his doubt, turning that emotional connection into a really powerful tool for containment.
So the really crucial thing to get here is that in Sea Haven, media isn't just something you watch, it's the total environment. There is no off-camera. Every relationship is mediated, every place is a set, every conversation is basically a scene. And this all-encompassing structure is what shapes what's knowable and, in the end, what feels real.
But even the most perfect, carefully managed systems can start to crack. And for Truman, the breakdown doesn't kick off with some big rebellion. It starts with something much, much quieter. Inconsistencies starting to pop up.
See, Truman's awakening doesn't begin with some new philosophy. It just starts with simple pattern recognition. A stage light literally falls out of the clear blue sky. His car radio suddenly picks up the production's backstage frequency, narrating his every move. He starts to see people and cars moving in these weird, repeating loops. The perfect story starts to unravel.
And this is the tipping point. The whole system was built on his need for comfort and safety. But eventually, his drive to figure out these glitches, his raw curiosity, just becomes stronger than his desire to stay in that safe, predictable little world. And that's the moment the whole thing starts to crumble.
So taking a step back, what does this amazing fictional system help us see a little differently about the real systems that we live in every day? How does it help sharpen our own perception? The film really exposes this fundamental tension in how power can work. It shows us how something that looks like benevolent care can actually function as control, how the cozy feeling of stability can become a quiet replacement for real freedom. And maybe most importantly, how our own passive participation in a system can so easily be mistaken by us and by others for active, enthusiastic consent.
This quote from Shoshana Zuboff just nails the risk here. When systems are working outside of our awareness to gently nudge our behavior, whether it's for profit or for social order, we risk becoming, as she says, exiles from our own behavior. We start to lose the ability to direct our own lives because the knowledge from our own experience isn't really ours anymore.
And all of this leaves us with this final, pretty unsettling question. The film doesn't give us an easy answer, but it really highlights the challenge, The challenge of recognizing systems of control when they feel benevolent, when they feel comfortable, and when they feel safe.
If you'd like a shorter, visual introduction to these ideas, watch the mini explainer linked below. If you found this explainer valuable, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or films you'd like us to explore next. Thank you for supporting Crisis in Perception. Your support makes long-form, systems-level education possible.